Why the chosen ones are being called right now. My beloved child, there is a reason this moment feels different, even if you can't fully explain it yet. You didn't arrive at this video by accident, and you didn't stay because of curiosity alone. Something inside you recognized the tone, the pause, the silence between these words. For a long time, you've sensed that your life moves in strange cycles, long waiting, sudden clarity, then waiting again. Others around you rush ahead, celebrate early, speak loudly. You stay quiet. You observe. You feel pressure building, not outside, but within. That pressure is not confusion. It is alignment beginning to tighten. Right now, many who walk your path are being called, not by noise, not by crowds, but by moments like this, where everything slows down and suddenly feels precise. You may have felt overlooked, delayed, even misunderstood, yet notice this, every delay sharpened you. Every quiet season trained you to listen deeper. This is why this call feels subtle yet undeniable. Don't skip. What is unfolding here connects directly to why your patience was tested longer than most. Listen carefully, because this is rarely explained out loud. Those who carry uncommon potential are never rushed into the open. They are positioned. Hidden. Strengthened where no applause exists. If you've ever felt like life kept pulling things away just when you got comfortable, that wasn't loss, it was refinement. Ordinary paths reward speed. Yours rewards readiness. And readiness doesn't announce itself. It shows up as pressure before clarity, isolation before direction, and silence before movement. That's why this call is happening now. Not because you asked for it, but because you finally became able to hold it. Others crumble when things slow down. You learn to sharpen focus. Others need constant reassurance. You learn to move without validation. This is not coincidence, it's pattern recognition. Something huge is waiting for you, but it doesn't reveal itself to impatience. Stay till the end, because the shift you're sensing is not external, it's internal, and that's where real momentum is born. Here's the part most people never realize until it's too late: being called doesn't feel empowering at first. It feels heavy. It feels like responsibility without instructions. That's why doubt shows up right before clarity. That's why old versions of you resurface, testing whether you'll fall back or step forward. This is the moment where many turn away, convincing themselves it was all imagination. But you didn't turn away, you're still here. That alone separates you from the crowd. The call isn't asking you to rush, announce, or prove anything. It's asking you to recognize what you've already survived and what that survival prepared you for. Once-in-a-lifetime shifts don't arrive with fireworks, they arrive with understanding. And understanding changes how you move from this point forward. Hold that thought. Let it settle. Because what comes next will explain why this moment matters more than you think. You didn't stay here by willpower alone. Something subtle pulled you forward, and the more you listen, the harder it becomes to look away. What's happening now isn't loud, dramatic, or obvious, but that's exactly why it's powerful. At this stage, clarity doesn't come as answers, it comes as resonance. Certain words land heavier. Certain pauses feel intentional. You might notice that distractions don't hit the same anymore. Things that once mattered suddenly feel hollow. This is a sign most people misread. They think they're losing interest, when in reality, they're gaining direction. Right now, your attention is being refined. Your mind is learning what to ignore. Your energy is being pulled inward, away from noise, toward something precise. This is why the call feels personal. Not emotional hype, recognition. Don't skip, because what's forming here only reveals itself when you stay present long enough for the pattern to show. There's something else happening beneath the surface, and this is where many misunderstand the moment. Being called doesn't mean everything suddenly gets easier. It means everything becomes clearer. You start seeing through shortcuts, empty promises, and borrowed confidence. You realize how many people move on autopilot, repeating the same loops, chasing the same validation. And you quietly step out of that rhythm. That's why this phase can feel lonely, even when you're surrounded. Growth like this doesn't look exciting from the outside, but internally, it's seismic. This is the stage where discipline replaces motivation, where silence becomes a strategy, and where your decisions start carrying weight. If this message resonates, share it with someone who's been feeling this shift but couldn't explain it. Subscribe if you want to stay connected to ideas that sharpen focus instead of feeding noise. Stay till the end, because what you're realizing now will change how you approach everything that comes next. Here's the truth that turns this from interesting into transformative. This call isn't about becoming someone new, it's about finally operating at the level you were prepared for all along. The delays, the pauses, the feeling of being slightly out of sync with the world, they were calibration. You weren't behind. You were being tuned. And once that tuning completes, momentum arrives fast. That's why this moment feels charged. That's why your intuition feels louder than usual. Something huge is waiting for you, not in the future, but in how you choose to move from this point forward. Most people will scroll past moments like this, feeling a brief spark and then forgetting it entirely. You didn't. And that matters more than you know. Hold on to this awareness. Let it reshape your pace, your focus, your standards. Because once this phase clicks into place, nothing about your movement will be accidental again. There comes a moment when everything you've been carrying quietly starts to make sense, not all at once, but enough to change how you breathe. This is that moment. You may feel it as a calm intensity, a stillness that isn't empty but focused. The noise that once pulled you in every direction begins to lose its grip. You start choosing your thoughts instead of reacting to them. And that's when you realize something important. This phase isn't about waiting anymore. It's about positioning. People who are meant for ordinary lanes are pushed forward quickly. People meant for impact are slowed down until their foundation can't crack. That's why your journey felt heavier. That's why shortcuts never worked for you. You were being trained to carry weight without collapsing. When this realization lands, it doesn't excite you, it steadies you. And steady people move further than loud ones ever will. Right now, your awareness is sharper than it's ever been, and that's not random. You're starting to see consequences before actions, outcomes before decisions. That's a rare shift. Most people only learn after they fall, you're learning before you leap. This is why distractions feel almost disrespectful to your time now. You don't crave chaos, you crave precision. And precision changes how you walk into rooms, how you speak, how you listen. You may notice that fewer things impress you, fewer opinions shake you. That's not arrogance, it's alignment. This is the stage where inner authority replaces external approval. Where you stop asking for permission to trust yourself. And once that switch flips, there's no going back. You don't need to announce this change. In fact, the less you explain it, the stronger it becomes. Quiet certainty unsettles the world more than loud confidence ever could. Understand this clearly before you move forward. The call isn't pulling you toward attention, it's pulling you toward responsibility. And responsibility doesn't arrive gently, it arrives honestly. You're being asked to move with intention, to choose depth over speed, clarity over comfort. That's why this phase feels serious. That's why your standards are rising while your tolerance for nonsense is shrinking. You're not becoming distant, you're becoming deliberate. And deliberate movement creates outcomes that look sudden to others but were built patiently in silence. This is how momentum truly starts, not with force, but with alignment so exact that every step multiplies the next. Stay present with this awareness. Let it sharpen how you think, how you choose, how you act when no one is watching. Because once this internal shift completes, the external world will respond faster than you expect. And when it does, you'll be ready to handle what most people only dream about. There is a quiet threshold you're standing on right now, and most people never even realize it exists. It's the point where awareness turns into responsibility, where knowing becomes choosing. Up until now, you were being prepared internally, but this phase is different, it's asking for alignment in action. Small decisions suddenly feel heavier. Time feels more valuable. You notice how one careless choice can pull you backward, while one intentional move can change the entire direction of your momentum. This isn't pressure meant to break you, it's precision meant to guide you. You're beginning to understand that power isn't loud movement, it's controlled movement. And controlled movement only belongs to those who have learned patience the hard way. Don't skip, because this realization is the bridge between who you were surviving as and who you're about to move as. Here's where the shift becomes unmistakable. You start feeling less interested in proving anything and more focused on protecting your energy. You realize how many people talk about growth but secretly fear the silence required to reach it. You don't fear it anymore. In fact, silence has become familiar territory for you. It's where you think clearly, where your instincts sharpen, where distractions fall away on their own. This is why the call feels serious now. It's not emotional motivation, it's internal confirmation. You may not have all the answers yet, but you trust your direction more than ever before. If this message resonates, share it with someone who's been feeling this same inner shift but hasn't found the words for it yet. Subscribe if you want to stay connected to messages that strengthen focus instead of feeding noise. Stay till the end, because understanding what comes next will change how you step into the world from this point forward. What most people don't see is that this phase is where real separation happens, not socially, but mentally. You begin operating from depth while others remain on the surface. Your reactions slow down, but your results speed up. You no longer chase moments, you build momentum. And momentum like this doesn't announce itself early, it compounds quietly. Something huge is waiting for you, not as a sudden miracle, but as a result that feels inevitable once it arrives. This is why you were called now, not earlier. Earlier, you would have rushed it. Now, you can hold it. Let that settle. Let it recalibrate how you move, how you speak, how you decide when no one is watching. Because once this level of clarity locks in, there's no returning to confusion. And the life that responds to this version of you will feel completely different from everything you've known before. At some point, you realize the shift has already happened, not in the world around you, but in how you see it. The same situations appear, the same people speak, the same noise exists, yet you no longer react the way you used to. That's how you know this phase is real. Growth at this level doesn't announce itself with excitement, it shows up as restraint. You pause before responding. You choose your battles carefully. You let certain things pass without explanation. This isn't weakness, it's mastery beginning to surface. Most people spend their lives reacting. You're learning how to respond. And that single change alters everything that follows. Stay with this, because the awareness you're developing now will quietly decide the outcomes you live with later. What's powerful about this moment is that it's invisible to everyone else. From the outside, nothing looks different. Inside, your standards have shifted permanently. You're no longer impressed by potential without discipline, words without action, or urgency without direction. You're starting to value consistency over intensity, clarity over chaos. This is why fewer things excite you, but the things that do feel deeply aligned. This internal filter is not accidental. It's the result of every time you chose patience when frustration would have been easier. Every time you stayed grounded when reacting would have felt justified. That discipline didn't disappear, it concentrated. And now it's forming something stable. Don't skip, because understanding this is what keeps you from underestimating the power you're quietly building. Here's the realization that changes how you move from here on. This call isn't about arriving somewhere, it's about becoming unshakable where you already stand. When that happens, opportunities don't need chasing. They recognize you. Movement becomes intentional. Decisions become clean. And results begin to line up in ways that feel almost effortless, not because you stopped trying, but because you stopped wasting energy. Something huge is waiting for you, but it responds only to clarity, not urgency. Let this truth anchor you. Let it guide how you speak, how you plan, how you choose when no one is watching. Because the more grounded you become now, the more unstoppable your momentum will feel later. And when the moment comes, you'll realize this quiet phase was the most important preparation of all. It becomes unmistakable now, the way you move through moments feels deliberate, almost measured, as if you're no longer being pushed by circumstances but pulled by understanding. You notice how quickly you sense what matters and what doesn't. Conversations reveal their depth within seconds. Situations expose their truth before they unfold. This isn't instinct alone. It's accumulated awareness finally sinking together. You didn't suddenly become stronger, you became clearer. And clarity is the rarest advantage there is. When clarity arrives, hesitation fades without effort. You don't rush forward, yet nothing delays you either. That balance is not common. It's built slowly, through restraint, observation, and countless moments where you chose control over impulse. This is why the call feels firm now, not emotional. It's grounding you into a level of certainty that doesn't need reassurance. Here's what separates this phase from all the others you've lived through: your focus no longer leaks. Energy once lost to doubt, comparison, and overthinking has consolidated. You feel it as steadiness, not excitement. And steadiness changes how outcomes respond to you. You begin to realize that the world reacts differently to people who are internally aligned. Resistance lowers. Timing improves. Even obstacles arrive with information instead of chaos. This is where many misinterpret what's happening, thinking they've gone quiet or slowed down. In reality, momentum has gone underground. It's gathering strength where it can't be disrupted. This is the point where impatience would undo everything, but you're past that now. Don't skip, because recognizing this shift is what keeps you from mistaking calm for stagnation. What's coming next doesn't require prediction, only preparation. And preparation is already happening through the way you're thinking, choosing, and responding. You're no longer waiting for permission, signs, or validation. You're listening to a deeper calibration that doesn't speak in words but in certainty. Something huge is waiting for you, not as a surprise, but as a consequence of who you've become in silence. The reason this matters so much is simple: when movement begins from this level of alignment, it doesn't break under pressure. It multiplies. Let this understanding settle fully. Let it define how you step forward from here. Because once this internal structure locks into place, the next phase won't ask whether you're ready, it will assume you are. There's a still confidence settling into you now, and it's different from anything you've felt before. It doesn't rush you. It doesn't demand proof. It simply anchors you. You may notice that even when uncertainty appears, it no longer controls your behavior. You observe it. Then move anyway. That's a rare level of self-trust, and it didn't come from motivation or hype, it came from experience. From seeing what breaks when you move too fast, and what holds when you move with intention. This is why your presence feels heavier now, even in silence. You're not chasing momentum anymore. You're carrying it. And people like that don't need to announce where they're going, their direction is felt. Pay attention to this next realization, because it explains why this moment matters so much. When alignment reaches this depth, life starts responding differently. Not dramatically, but accurately. The right conversations happen at the right time. The wrong doors close without resistance. You stop forcing outcomes and start noticing how effortlessly things arrange themselves when your inner state is stable. This isn't luck. It's resonance. And once you experience it, you can't unsee it. That's why distractions feel weaker now. That's why urgency doesn't shake you the way it used to. Don't skip, because understanding this shift keeps you from falling back into patterns that no longer fit who you've become. This is the quiet point before visible movement, the phase most people rush past because it doesn't look impressive from the outside. But you stayed. And staying here long enough changes everything. Something huge is waiting for you, not because it was promised, but because it's earned through this level of internal discipline. Stay till the end of this awareness. Let it fully integrate. Because once you move forward from here, you won't be moving from doubt or reaction anymore, you'll be moving from certainty. And movement that begins from certainty doesn't stall, doesn't scatter, and doesn't need to be corrected later. It goes exactly where it's meant to go. What settles in now is a sense of inevitability, not urgency, not pressure, just quiet certainty. You feel it when you wake up and don't need motivation to move. You feel it when decisions come faster because you already know what aligns and what doesn't. This is the phase where your inner compass stops spinning and locks into place. You're no longer negotiating with distractions or explaining yourself to doubt. You notice how your attention has become selective, how your time feels guarded without effort. That's because you've crossed from searching into recognizing. Recognition changes posture. It changes tone. It changes the way you carry silence. And silence, at this level, becomes a tool, not emptiness, but control. Here's the part most people miss while scrolling past moments like this: clarity compounds. Every aligned choice makes the next one easier. Every boundary you hold strengthens the next boundary without force. You begin to realize that consistency isn't boring, it's powerful. And power doesn't need to rush. It waits until conditions are exact. That's why this phase can feel deceptively calm. Underneath, systems are forming. Habits are stabilizing. Your identity is consolidating. This is where many get tempted to disrupt the calm, to chase stimulation just to feel something. You won't. You can sense that breaking this rhythm would cost more than it gives. And that awareness is protection. It keeps you steady while everything else accelerates. Let this sink in fully. When alignment reaches this depth, outcomes stop being random. They start being responsive. Not because the world bends, but because you no longer move against yourself. This is the edge before visible momentum, the place where patience turns into precision. What comes next won't feel chaotic or overwhelming, it will feel earned and manageable. Hold this state. Guard it. Build from it. Because once movement begins from here, it won't scatter or stall. It will advance with intention, carrying the quiet strength you've been cultivating all along. And that's when the results finally match the depth of the work you've done in silence.